Alrighty. Ray and Finn crouched in the brush, both focused on the Vertex-class cruiser coming out of the hidden dock inside the mountain. The ship was clearly military grade, several gunnery decks, powerful engines, and a reinforced hull made of hardened aluminium. The powerfully built swarthy ex-stormtrooper and the more athletic short Xerium warrior had been watching the ships emerge from the bay for nearly a day, one each moon cycle, making it roughly 6 since they'd been there. Ray's stomach rumbled, so she quietly slipped her mechanical right hand into her food pouch and popped a ration cube into her mouth. As soon as it melted on her mouth, the rumbling went away, but that would only last a couple hours. "What do you think, Finn?" Ray asked, lowering her optic and clipping it to her belt opposite her blaster on the other. Okay, this part doesn't make any sense. I need to clip this out. Her belt. Looks like there's some kind of factory down there, Finn remarked, brown eyes still on the slowly closing camouflaged entrance. "I can't tell whether they're hot off the assembly line, but there's too many coming out there to just be a hiding place." Ray breathed out slowly, mechanical fingers clenching and unclenching. She could sense something. It wasn't clear, but something inside that mountain was not what it appeared to be. "We need to move soon," she remarked. "You have the bombs prepped and ready?" Finn lightly patted his pack. "Ready to go, Ray," he remarked. "Don't freeze up." Ray lightly punched her friend's arm with her left hand. And "I can't get out of this without you, especially if one of the mirrored was in there." "I'm not going to freeze up." Finn took a deep breath and patted his holstered hand blaster, then stroked his larger, heavier assault striker rifle affectionately. "If this plan works, the worst I'll have to deal with is surprise hits. If we get into an all-out firefight, we'll be fracked already." "Fair," Ray admitted, rolling her metal-covered shoulder, though mostly by habit. "Well, we should start getting closer. We should be, if we want to be on time for the next exit." "You sure you don't want a blaster?" Finn proffered one of his sidearms toward her. She shook her head. "It's against my religion. I don't like using him. Besides, if I had to start now, I'd be really bad at it." Without another word, she started skittering forward, her elbows and knees through the thick, dry brush. Finn got out in front of her, assault blaster resting on his arms as the expert crawled forward on his elbows and knees. "You have to show off, don't ya?" Ray asked jokingly as Finn pushed forward. "Trained soldier, baby." Finn quipped back. "Frack off." Ray smacked a bit of dirt toward her friend. Finn raised his hand and made a rude gesture before returning to his crawl position. "Just telling it like it is."
I already like the dynamic between them more than in the movies.
That's because there's actual thought and talent.
Well, that's because true. There is a dynamic between them.
There actually is one.
Yeah, instead of just being a simp.
Thou shalt not simp.
I still haven't watched the third movie. I don't want to. I watched the EFAP of it, and I was like, "That's good."
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the mistake of actually watching the movie. Oh God, it was so bad.
So to answer, this is not. So actually, basically, what this is going to be like, I'm going to try and create my own original thing from this. Change the names up. Figure it out. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It took a while of laborious effort, but the disparate pair managed to reach a rocky section of ground just before the carefully concealed doors. Once they were hidden, Finn adjusted the scope of his rifle and surveyed the door. "I don't see any entrances." He slid back behind the rock and took a seated position. "Do you think you can cut your way through?" "No." Ray shook shook her head and clenched her mechanized fist. It would take too much time and draw far too much attention to us. Guess we're gonna have to wait a bit for that damn door to open. Finn rubbed his eyes. So once we get in, we're going to have to blow the main reactor. Ray nodded, slowly working out a possible strategy. Yeah, good idea. If this is a ship foundry, if we can reach a relay panel, then we can find our way around the place. Finn finished, setting his gun in front of him and carefully taking it apart and cleaning it. Okay, well, I imagine our getaway plan is steal one of the smaller ships and shoot our way out while everything blows up behind us. Yep.
I like that plan.
Yep. Hopefully the controls will work similar to the ones I'm used to. Casually, Ray took out a havoc tube and stuck it in her mouth. Automatically, she pulled her lighter and ignited it. Sighing contentedly, she inhaled the flavored smoke through her mouth, letting the calming sensation course through her. Havoc? Ray asked, offering the tube to Finn. The former shock trooper accepted the tube and took a whiff. If thanks, he remarked, putting out the last bits of the rifle together. So, how'd you lose your right arm? He passed her the tube. Well, I wanted to be a hero, and I convinced a bunch of my friends to do the same, Ray remarked. So did you? Finn prompted. Would I be here if I had been successful? Ray leaned back against the rock and tapped out the end of her two. Before taking a long draw. I want to save a friend of mine. He'd left with someone who wasn't good for him, let's say that. Finn clearly noticed her pause, but he didn't press, which Ray appreciated. Thought I could get through to him after he joined the wrong side, and I was wrong. She clenched her mechanical fist, then forced herself to react. He was the one who did this to me. She raised her hand and let the setting sun play off the dark metal. After that troll Lilius killed all my friends. The names you say over and over, Finn inferred. Ray gave him a sharp look, causing the ex-stormtrooper to back away and raise his hands. You talk in your sleep. Frackin' right. Ray blew a puff of red smoke into the air. Yeah, Mattias, Rab, Aisha, and Elias. All dead. All of them. And I'm the only one who's going to remember them. Or admit they remember them, since they were declared excommunicado by the Exerium Order. I only avoided getting killed by falling down a ravine. They probably thought I was dead. Once the fight was over, I had to crawl my way back to the nearest outpost with my arm gone. She glanced at Finn. How about you? Finn shifted uncomfortably. I'm not proud of what I did, he said quietly. Ran off from home when I was a kid. Broke my mother's heart, probably. I hopped a few ships, but I ran out of money. So I joined the Imperium Confederacy Army. They trained me up, taught me to shoot, showed me the right way of thinking, or at least the most appealing way of thinking to my mind. But as soon as I got into a fight, I saw what they were when large sections of my unit started running away and swallowed. I was so scared of getting shot by the enemy that I barely moved, but if I'd run, I'd probably be dead. The enemy shot them down? Ray asked. No, it was one of the other battalions that opened fire on my guys. Finn took a short draw at the havoc tube. I went crazy. I just leaped out from behind cover and charged the enemy bulwark. Finn laughed and passed the tube to Ray. I'm surprised I didn't get killed. But thankfully, everyone behind me was shooting at the enemy bulwark, making it so that the enemy was so pinned down that I was able to just wildly shoot him up. You're really lucky that you are not dead. Ray chuckled, taking another draw on the tube before letting her hand rest on her knees. Makes sense, though, considering you went berserk the first time we met. I thought you were a bounty hunter coming after me, Finn shrugged. The thing that surprised me was I had managed to get out of there after my commendation for heroism. More like insanity, Ray grinned. How'd you get it out of there? Well, I just wasn't the same after the battle. I wasn't really a hero. I just ran in the right direction, whereas everyone else in my unit ran in the wrong one. But I got a good commission, and once I got it and no one was looking, I bought a small fighter under a assumed name and booked it out of there. Finn reached out a hand for the havoc, but Ray had already finished it. Shrugging, Ray leaned back against the rock and tossed the tube aside before stamping it out. Since I finished the havoc, if you want to take a quick nap while we wait for that door to open while I keep watch, I see that as a fair trade. It's only a couple hours away, so what's the point? Finn shrugged. I've been on my training exercises with significantly less rest than I've been getting the past few days. Okay, then you won't mind if I nap? Ray smirked. Finn shrugged. Sure. I'm joking, Ray remarked, punching him with her regular arm. I'm not leaving you alone here. She cut off as a large space cruiser, clearly a luxury vessel, broke atmosphere and starts descending toward the mountain. Only his assault rifle at the ready. Finn looked upward with his scope. Huh, that's a senator craft, he remarked, handing the rifle over to Ray. Notice the lightning crest on the hull? He asked. Ray nodded. Well, based on my recollection, that is Lord Jupiton's pleasure cruiser. Frack! Ray returned the rifle and clenched her fist. Great, at least we know who's behind. She trailed off, a sudden phantom pain shooting up her arm. She felt a dark presence coming from the ship. What's up? Finn raised his rifle. She's on that ship, Ray whispered, fear paralyzing her. Oh, frack, we're in deep trouble. Hey, the doors are open. Finn put his hand on her mechanical shoulder. Let's go. We have a shot. Maybe we'll be able to avoid this person you're scared of. I'm not scared, Ray lied, shame and anger battling her fear. Unconsciously, she clutched her metal arm, then made herself release it. All right, let's go. The pleasure cruiser landed on the launch pad gracefully. A low hiss filling the room as the doors began to close. Just as graceful as her ship, mirrored Lilius glided down the off-ramp, her two gray and green armored bodyguards flanking her like hounds. Her white clothes contrasted perfectly with her deep red skin, her long black hair flowing down her back in an elegant ponytail. She'd specifically selected the half-skirt with long sleeves and bisected skirts with a great deal of care. I have to impress our new friend, she thought as her elegant toeless shoe made contact with the smooth metal landing pad. Her X-saber was attached to her back, the elegant semicircular hilt with the blade emitter at the tip, crafted from the finest Stygian steel. Something seemed to play at the edge of her awareness, just as if you were aware of a Mikan or some other type of vermin skittering around the room. Absently, Lilius let her aether-enhanced senses quest out, but she didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Carefully, Lilius turned her annoyed grimace to a slight, if eager, smile as Lord Praetor Hephaestion Vulcus walked toward her. Gracefully, she bowed, concealing her slight distaste. The Lord Praetor was a very wealthy and powerful official, but his gray, scaly skin and large single eye was distinctly unattractive, not like her beloved mirrored thorn. Lady Lilius, he remarked, accent slightly slurred. I've been eagerly awaiting your presence. Behind him, his blocky droid guards, the only things he trusted to work on this project. A practice Lilius wholeheartedly approved of. Maintaining her smile, Lilius slid her arm through the tall alien's arm. It's good to be here, she remarked. As we reported, the Skyforge is fully operational, Vulcus said proudly. The device is beyond anything we've ever seen. At this rate, the Vulcus family will have the greatest fleet the galaxy has ever seen. How incredible, Lilius purred approvingly. She had to be gentle with this situation. Seducing her thorn away from the Zirium Order had been so refreshingly straightforward, but she still enjoyed this subtle game. Again, that niggling at the back of her head. Slowly, she tilted her head. It must be the Skyforge interfering with my abilities, she decided. There's so much aether in this place that certain things are concealed from me. Are you sure this place is secure? She asked, deliberately sliding her hand away. Vulcus's single eye was filled with hurt as she looked down at her. Of course, he said, the hurt clear in his tone. We keep this concealed from the New Republic for months. If anyone has slipped in, they will not leave alive. Good. Lilius purred soothingly and patted his arm, much like she would pet a dog, but as dull as he was, he didn't notice. I do trust you. I just need to be certain. Of course. Of course, Vulcus swallowed. I will get a sweep done if you ask. That would be lovely. She widened her smile deliberately and followed him to the gap deeper in the complex. Take me to the Skyforge. Ray breathed out slowly as she and Finn slipped through down the blank corridor, searching for a directory panel. Where are we going? Finn wondered, wiping his dark brow with his hand. This place is a maze. I've never seen a structure like this. Yeah, Ray agreed, glancing around thoughtfully. She glanced on the metal walls. There aren't any large vents pulling oxygen down here. Maybe it's because we've only seen droids working down here. Finn adjusted his rifle and then started flicking the safety on and off nervously. It's going to be all right. Ray couldn't keep a slight tremor out of her voice. If Lilius finds us, she will kill us. Why do you sound so fracking scared? Finn asked quietly. Because I am! Ray hissed back. We need to get out of here. She trailed off as sounds of machinery started drifting down the hall, all towards them. Droid guards? Finn raised his rifle, but Ray shook her head and placed her hand on the muzzle. No, it's too loud. Also, it's not footsteps, so we don't have to worry about that, she said quietly, keeping her mechanical hand at the side. Carefully, the two spies slid down the hall, only to meet with a split in the corridor. What do you think? Finn asked, handing his side. Ink handing pulling a small medallion from his pocket. Head, we go left. Hand, we go right. No. Ray reached out to the ether, letting the lifeblood of the universe flow through her. Carefully, she quested out with her senses down both tunnels, only to halt when she saw a group of droids moving down the left tunnel toward them. Shivering, she opened her eyes and pointed down the right. That way, there's a group of droids with blasters coming toward us down the left. I love your magic powers, Finn grinned. What I wouldn't have given to have you with me and the rest of the boys back on duty. I wouldn't have fought for the Perion. Ray clenched and unclenched her metal hand. And, I know, just hypothetically. Finn shrugged as he started walking down the right-hand corridor. Ray rolled her eyes and followed her friend, turning around to watch their backs. After watching for a few minutes, they emerged onto a large catwalk above a large factory line. What the frack? Finn asked, face going slightly slack. Ray's jaw dropped. At least 5 dozen battle cruisers were being rapidly assembled down below them, each one in its own docking bay. Thousands of construction droids were working on the ships as the massive arms moved immense loads of material for synthesis into the vessels. This is crazy, Finn remarked. At this rate, they'll have enough of ships to take down the New Republic in weeks. Yeah, that's why we're going to stop the production here and now, Ray remarked, adjusting her bombs. But we're going to have to overload the reactor core if we're going to make any big damage. If we just blow up a few ships, they'll be slowed down, but it'll ultimately do nothing in the long run. Problem is, we don't know where to go. Finn adjusted his blaster. No, but one of them does. Ray pointed down toward the droids moving around the ships. Think about it. We haven't seen any directory maps, so that means the droids must have the layout programmed into their databanks. If they have an internal map of the facility, I can just use my arm to hook him to the blueprint and strip the data so we can find the control room. Yeah, but there's a fracking army down there. Finn gave her a significant look. How? Not one of them, Ray agreed. A cleaning droid. Ah, Finn said sheepishly. I kind of wish I'd gone to the engineering corps. Maybe I'd have had an easier life. Yeah, but it wouldn't be as fun. Ray hunched his arm. Come on, let's get going. Lilia still felt that niggle as she and Vulcan entered part of the complex where the actual Skyforge was housed. It was a marvel of ancient machinery, a one made when the ancients had utilized ether in ways that nobody now could conceive. Ultimately, it was a power source that could produce infinite materials by drawing on a limitless source of aether within the planet's core. Lilius placed her hand on the giant column of glowing green metal, drinking in a small portion of its power. As she did, the niggle became clearer. Someone was here, and a lack of flesh and blood made the presence of two aether channels more noticeable as she tapped into the immense power of the Skyforge. There are two people here, she declared. What? Vulcus exclaimed. Impossible. No, it seems as though your secret facility has been discovered. Lilius clasped her hands behind her back, thumbs stroking her X-saber blade. Passing into the security feeds immediately. At once. Vulcus tapped on his communicator gauntlet and raised it to chest level. A set of screens appeared in the air, each one displaying a different area of the facility. After surveying the selection in front of her, Lilius pointed at one of the screens. What is that? She asked. It seems like a slight distortion. Vulcus narrowed his eye at the screen. That should be impossible. This facility has the best security money can buy. Refresh it, Lilius instructed. Perhaps. He tapped on his gauntlet, instantly fuzzing the screens. Lilia's smile spread across her face. Oh, well, this is interesting, she remarked as she pointed to the two intruders, one with a mechanical arm and guard on her shoulder, the other a dark man wearing patches of shock trooper armor. It appears as though a pair of rats have entered your facility, Lord Marshal. I shall deal with them immediately, Vulcus promised, tapping on his gauntlets. My droids will deal with them. No, they won't, Lilius narrowed her eyes. One of these intruders is a former Xerium warrior. No matter how skilled your droids are, she'll cut through them. Well then, Vulcus trailed off. Don't worry, Lilius said, patting his arm with false affection. I can deal with her if your droids can kill her accomplice. Yes, I can do that. Vulcus grinned stupidly. I would like to keep you safe, considering you are the one who constructed this facility and many of the droids running it, Lilius continued, subtly stroking his mind with a strand of aether. Would you be so kind as to allow me joint control over your droids while I deal with them? Yes, he said eagerly. I trust you to eliminate this problem. Fool, she thought. Blinded fool. Quickly, he raised his gauntlets and tapped on his controls. A blue light emerged from the gauntlet and scanned Lilius, likely taking her biometrics. There, you can have control over the droids. Thank you, sweetling, she patted his arm. Casually, she tapped on her communicator device. All droids on the lower levels, begin shepherding them toward one of the aired-out assembly areas. Everyone else move to the upper hangars to block their escape. I want them caught immediately. Ray and Finn ran into the control room. Finn with his rifle at the ready while Ray had her hand to the side. This should be the place, she remarked, tapping on the controls. Finn put his hand into the and started pulling on the remaining charges out of his back. This should disable them while we get to whatever reactor is powering this place, he remarked. If anything goes right, the charges we dropped along the way will detonate leading toward our main target. Yeah, Ray remarked, placing her mechanical arm on the console and hooking it into the data stream. All right, Hello, Ray Kankar. The voice coming over the comm caused Ray to freeze. I know where you are, and I suggest you leave soon. Your escape is being headed off, but if you head to the hangar, you might be able to leave with your life. Finn glanced around, eyes displaying his nervousness. Oh, frack, he muttered. We're dead. Ray nodded. Yeah. Okay, so, we've discovered, and he started hyperventilating. Ray took his hand and pulled him into a hug, mostly to try and stop her own shaking. Okay, let's figure this out and come up with a new plan. And Finn took a deep breath. Yeah, you're right. He patted her back, then pulled away. Ray moved over to the console and started typing. If this works, I can start the process of overloading the reactor, but I'm going to need you to go down and start the countdown. She pursed her lips. If you can get down there, I can clear a path through the hangar and at least distract Lilius while you get it to one of the smaller cruisers. If you can get that, you can start fighting your way free. What about you? Finn asked. I can't leave you to die. I'll be okay. Putting on an air of confidence that she didn't feel. If you pick me up on your way out, we'll be good. Finn frowned. No, if you're fighting your way free, I'm coming with you, he insisted. Finn, this is more important than anything else. Ray gave him a hug, then casually slipping her data core into his pocket. We need to save as many people as possible. I can't and put myself first. I have to put you and the mission first. I still don't like it. Finn protested, wrapping her in a bear hug. You don't have to, Ray pulled away. Please go. She tossed him a circular hollow as she backed out the door. This should have the schematics. Pushing down her fear, Ray ran out the door and down the hall toward the hangar. Finn bit his lip and looked down at the hollow holding schematics. Then clenched his fist. All right, let's do this. He tapped on the device, causing a small layout to appear. Carefully, he memorized the map, then ran out the door. Ray could feel she was being herded just by the fact she'd only encountered the occasional group of security droids, their blaster arms and tall, bulky build giving them an intimidating appearance. It wasn't the most intimidating model she'd seen, but hopefully there weren't any military model droids with Gatling arms or flamethrowers. As she attempted to go up, she heard sounds of droids coming toward her. Grimacing, Ray allowed herself to be herded slowly downward to the lower areas of the facility. Finally, she arrived in an empty assembly line, probably a ship that just got finished. Ray glanced from side to side, taking in the catwalk on either side. For some reason, the lights didn't seem to be working on her left side, casting the areas in shadows. Large metal frameworks are interspersed at several intervals, with several more down on the bay. I had assumed that you were dead. Ray spun around, her hand thrust out to the side. Lilius emerged from the shadows, her beautiful deep red skin contrasting with her white outfit and black hair. You! Ray snarled. Seeming totally unconcerned, Lilius tilted her head, a slow smirk spreading across her perfect face. I see that you replaced the arm that Thorn took off when he destroyed your first blade, she remarked, sliding her elegant X-saber from her hilt from her belt so she could toy with it. Fear coursed through Ray as she saw the semicircular hilt with the small iron mega cap with the small at the top edge of the curve of the blade, of the hilt. That blade had killed her friends. That's not his name, Ray said shortly, hand still out. It is now. Lilius advanced slowly. Jason Durandon is dead, and Mirrored Thorn is now the hammer of the new Perion. Her smirk turned decidedly cruel. It's too bad you brought your friends on a pathetic heroic quest, only to have them all die. Unable to take it, Ray thrust out her hand. Instantly, her X-Saber shot out of its holster inside her mechanical arm into her metal hand. The glowing, dirty yellow energy blade emerged from the tip, the two exhaust ports on either side discoursing jets of bright yellow flame without traces of black flickering through them. Still using the same flawed model, I see. Lilius ignited her weapon, a long red blade emerging from the emitter cap. Hopefully, this one doesn't explode like the last one. But it is you, after all. Ray charged, swinging her sword directly at her enemy. Almost lazily, Lilius deflected the first two strikes. Then her stance shifted and she attacked, blade stabbing forward rapidly. Immediately on the defensive, Ray blocked the attacks, trying to get back the slim advantage she gained at the beginning, only to get pushed back by Lilius. The red-skinned woman was using her typical rapid stab style with quick movements. Ray used a more hack-and-slash style, not as elegant as her opponent. You've improved somewhat since Ars Arcanius, as the mirrored woman remarked as they locked blades, then disengaged. However, you lack one important thing. And what's that? Ray warded off another strike, then leaped onto one of the guardrails onto one of the outcropping scaffolds. Carefully, she backed away, tapping into Aether to maintain her balance. Lilius gracefully stepped onto the same framework Ray was on. Fear boiled inside Ray as her enemy slowly advanced toward her. Grimacing, Ray raised her blade into a guard position. Abruptly, Lilius sliced two pieces of the guardrail with her F-saber, then hurled them at Ray with a burst of Aether. Gasping in surprise, Ray leaped backward, deep into the Aether around her to enhance her reflexes. With two quick slashes, she cut the metal rails in half, only to have Lilius charge, slamming her red X-Saber blade against Ray's yellow one. Before she could deflect it fully, Lilius scored a glancing cut on Ray's normal arm. Grimacing in pain, Ray blocked each strike, but as she did, she kept going backward toward the edge of the scaffold. Oh, frack, he thought, then leaped toward the other outcropping of metal scaffolding with an assist from Aether. Grunting, she raised her blade, then threw it at the scaffolding that Lilius was on. The weapon slashed through the metal like butter, causing it to detach and start the fall. Before it could fall, Lilius leaped to the other side, blade upraised. Thinking quickly, Ray pulled her blade back to her hand with a quick pull of Aether. Grimacing, she put her blade up in a guard position, blocking her enemy's strike. Ray snarled and used the strength of her mechanical arm to push her enemy backward into the void, only for Lilius to adjust in the air and land on the scaffolding close to the railing. Frack, we're back where we started, Ray thought as she raised her blade. Is that the best you can do? Lilius ashed downward at the scaffolding, causing it to detach. Ray stumbled, then leaped into the air, propelling herself to the opposite wall with a burst of Aether. Deactivating her blade, Lilius jumped after her, landing on the same scaffolding bar, both of their blades igniting with a hiss. Face focused, Lilius rushed forward, slamming her sword into Ray's blade over and over again. You can't win, Ray, Lilius taunted as she pushed her backward with a rapid series of strikes. Grunting, Ray leaped backward over the guardrail onto the catwalk. Lilius thrust out her hand and ripped the railing free so she could hurl it at Ray. Deactivating her blade, Ray leaped to the side and rolled, only to have an Aether push slam her into the wall. White clothing fluttering around her, Lilius advanced toward Ray, her red blade casting a bloody light over the walls. Ray scrambled backward, only to start clutching at her throat. It was as if an invisible hand had closed around her neck and was slowly choking her. You lack focus, Ray, Lilius remarked as the hand got tighter and tighter. What's that? She said playfully. No angry comeback? No insulting remark? Ray gurgled, trying to reach out to Aether, but it was as if there was a wall between her and her power. And now, Lilius started pinching her fingers together. Ray started seeing spots, vision sputtering. She started blacking out. A sudden series of blaster bells sounded, along with the sound of Lilius cursing. The hold on Ray's neck immediately loosened. Coughing, she put her hand to her throat, massaging and feeling back into her neck. A familiar voice came from behind Lilius. I'd rather not shoot a woman. Oh, frack it, Finn, Ray thought, though she couldn't help but feel relieved if that he was there. Slowly, it looked up to see Finn pointing his rifle at Lilius. Oh no. So, Finn continued, I prefer you put that weapon down and cuff yourself to the railing. But if I need to, I will put a blaster bound in your forehead. You cannot be serious. Lilius sounded utterly incredulous. I'm dead serious, Finn said firmly. Now, I suggest, is this the person you brought as backup, Ray? Lilius asked, spinning her X-saber blade through her fingers as she examined Finn and with a speculative expression. I must say, I'm thoroughly unimpressed. I'll give you to 3, Finn said firmly, taking a more aggressive stance. 3! He fired 3 times in rapid succession. As if she were swatting flies aside, Ray deflected the shots with her weapon. Finn slowly lowered the gun, expression stunned. Oh, frack. Lilius rushed forward. Thinking quickly, Ray reached out and pulled on the railing in front of Lilius. The woman slowed to slice through the railing, but that gave Finn just enough time to toss an explosive at his attacker. Instinctively, Lilius caught it inside a protective aether bubble, but when Finn detonated it, she stumbled, covering her eyes. Clearly disoriented, Lilius started swinging wildly with her blade, causing Finn to back away. Finn, Ray gasped, voice still hoarse. Come on! Grunting, he raised his blaster and tried to take a couple shots, but Lilius deflected the rounds easily. Her vision seemed to clear, and she slashed at Finn, only for him to tuck and roll toward Ray. Grimacing, Lilius charged, but Finn and tossed another grenade at her. Ray shielded her eyes just as it exploded inside another aether bubble. Finn reached down and slid Ray's arm around his broad shoulders. I told you to run! Ray pulled her X-saber to her hand with a pull of aether, and Finn helped her through the door and shot the control panel to seal it closed. You think I wouldn't notice the data pod you snuck into my pocket? Finn grabbed MS, taking out his detonator. Brace yourself. He clicked the button. Loud bangs sounded all around them as they ran up. Before they rounded a corner, Ray glanced over to her shoulder to see a red X-saber blade slicing through the door. We need to hurry, she grunted, pulling some weight on her legs to take a load off of Finn. If we don't get to that cruiser up top, we're gonna die. Good thing you got me then. Finn's grin slid slightly as he heard a loud clang from behind him. Oh, frack. She just got through, didn't she? Yeah. Frack. Finn grunted, then slid through another door, shooting the panel to seal it behind them. Can you walk on your own? Tentatively, Ray put a weight on her leg. Ray, raising her normal hand to her forehead to mitigate some of the lightheadedness. Yeah, I'll be okay. She hefted her X-saber. Let's go. Foregoing her blade, Lilius blasted the doors open with a powerful aether push. Casually, she raised her wrist communicator to her mouth. All droids converge on the hangar bay. Do not allow the fugitives to escape. Ray and Finn rushed into the hangar with the pleasure cruiser just as the battle droids began running into the room. Before they could open fire, Ray reached out and pulled some of the frameworks down on them with threads of aether. Then threw some small boxes into their ranks, tripping them up. Get the ship up and running, Finn, she called, igniting the blade. I'll hold the line while you get fired up. Finn nodded and ran up the landing ramp into the ship. She vaguely heard sounds of fighting, but it was over rather quickly. The droids advanced toward her, bulky bodies made of aluminiar, rotary guns on their arms. Focusing hard, Ray drew in as much aether as she could. Then she charged. The droids opened fire, but Ray leaped high into the air, then pushed down and outward with a burst of aether, knocking a few of the droids into their fellows. Gold X-saber writhing, Ray landed in the middle, then started hacking her way through the droids. A few of them attempted to land a punch, but Ray tore their arms off with an aether pull. Breath coming in spurts, Ray slammed her metal fist into one of them, knocking it backward into its fellows. More and more were coming out of the metal doors and elevators, but Ray kept cutting them down, her X-saber slicing through the metal as if it were butter. That's your problem, Ray. You lack focus. Ray remembered Lilius's words. She glanced down at her X-Saber, then deactivated it. Digging into the aether around her, she pulled one of the ships above them down onto the droids. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to have crushed all of them, but it did provide a barrier between the two sides. Chest heaving with exertion, Ray pressed her ISCOM and brought it to her mouth. Finn, you got it up and running? Almost, Finn remarked. I had to change a few of the biometrics before I could turn it on. Frack, we need to leave before. She cut off as the ship was hurled aside, revealing Lilius. The red-skinned woman ignited her blade and rushed forward. Grimacing, Ray ignited her X-Saber and attacked. Before she got close, Lilius raised her hand and unleashed a blast of aether lightning from her hands. Frack! Ray raised her blade to block her lightning, only to be pushed back. You will not escape. Lilius advanced slowly, face twisted in concentration. I don't need to. Ray grimaced, holding her firmer grip on the blade. She couldn't do this forever. The flawed blade would overload. That had to be what Lilius was planning. However, Ray couldn't do much to stop her. Grunting, Ray reached inside herself, trying to find calm. She reached out to the aether and hurled a few boxes at her opponent. As if she were flies, Ray slashed the boxes. Lilius slashed the boxes out of the air. You are only prolonging the inevitable. Lilius deactivated her blade and clipped it to the back of her belt. Then she unleashed a second torrent of lightning at Ray. The lightning connected with the blade, the exhaust valves on either side of the blade measure, sending out even more fits of fire. Oh, frack. Ray pulled her flesh hand away just as the X-Saber exploded, disintegrating her mechanical arm up to the elbow. Ah! Ray screamed as she was thrown backwards on the landing ramp, pain shooting through her brain. Grunting, she pushed herself up, using the ramp pistons as support. Lilius advanced, smile cruel. This is the end for you, Ray. She ignited her blade. As Ray reached out to the aether to make a few last attempts at resistance, a pair of rotary guns lowered from the ship and started firing at Lilius. The mirror blacked away, deflecting each bolt. Ray! Finn's voice sounded over the intercom. It's up and running. Let's go! Grimacing, Ray stumbled to the rising ramp, the stump of her metal arm sparking and sizzling. Hopefully she's got some good medical supplies on this fracking thing. She grimaced as she made her way up the bridge as the ship accelerated out of the hangar into atmosphere. Thankfully, she found a comfortable sitting room to collapse in. The large circular couch inserted into a hole in the floor accepted her weight. Grunting, she looked down at her ruined arm, then pulled the small, slightly cracked yellow crystal that had been powering her X-Saber out of the stump. She turned it over in her fingers, then slipped it into her pocket. At least I don't have to dig it out of my skin this time, she grimaced. Ray! She turned to see Finn rush into the room, face covered in sweat. You okay? Mostly, Ray swallowed. It's on autopilot? Yeah, as soon as we're through the atmosphere, the hyperdrive will engage and shoot us back to base. Finn ran to one of the panels and started fiddling with it. I'll get you fixed up. This thing probably has some good medical tech we can use to repair that arm. Thanks, buddy. Ray leaned backward and closed her eyes. You already disabled any tracers embedded in case of theft? Yup. That's what took me a while to get back here, Finn grimaced. Fracking difficult. These rich people really like their stuff. Lilius watched her pleasure ship break atmosphere and shoot off with a grimace. We will meet again, but until then enjoy this respite. She dusted off her arm. Lady Lilius! She turned to see Vulcus stumbling toward her. Who were they? Saboteurs, Lilius answered languidly. How does the facility fare? We managed to deactivate the bombs on the reactor. Whoever put them there must have been hasty when placing them. There are a few hallways that have collapsed. Vulcus grimaced. I will hunt them down Her patience was gone. Casually, Lilius raised a hand and closed her fist. Vulcus rose into the air, choking and gurgling as the aether closed around his neck and pulling him upward. You will do nothing, Lilius remarked, slowly increasing the pressure. Your facility belongs to the Imperium now, especially since you were so kind as to give me control over your droids. She continued, your contribution to our cause will be remembered. Calmly, she twisted her hand. Instantly, his neck snapped and he went limp. Lilius clasped her hands behind her back and tapped on her communicator. Prepare another ship for me. I need a long-range communicator. Imperator Karsh will be pleased to have the Skyforge at our disposal, she thought with a slight smile. And end of thing.
Yeah.